Hi everyone, I'm Allie Buckman with the Potomac Bead Company, and I want you to join me this week as we talk about and continue the discussion about multi-hole beads during this Better Beader episode. We're going to be going in from the rectangle that we did last week to the rounded bead this week, talking about the multi-hole beads, what can be interchangeable and what you can use as you design with those shapes.
So last week I went over the difference in the rectangle shaped, and as I said, there's really so much information going on with the different beads and the number of different styles that I wanted to break these down almost by, to say, shape. It's not exact because there's some rectangles and squares and stuff that I will talk about, but this shape here that I wanted to go over this week is mainly the round shape. So when I talk about round, I'm really talking about the profile. Like we talked about the rectangular shape, the rectangles, I'm looking at the side profile. When it comes to the rounded shape, I'm really looking at the top profile. When I speak about the shape, think about what shape and where angle you're going to see based on where the holes are in the design. So as I'm looking here in the rounded shape, I brought in multiple hole beads that are and have that rounded profile. I also have an example below here of one of the recent videos that I did, the Birds of Paradise, that has some of those profiles to show you. Many design ideas, when you're talking about them, in this rounded profile are going to be size specific. So again, starting out smallest to largest, going on this multi-holed round, I actually threw in a bead that I didn't think about right away about throwing in, and I decided that I really liked the idea of throwing this bead in. And this is the Monty. The Monty, unlike the other beads in this row, actually has a cross section back, that it has a little diagonal cross. However, for some patterns, you would be able to switch the round duo out with the Monty and get a completely different look. The Monty is an SS20, but that's going to be more like a 4.8 millimeter size, whereas the round duo, which was our first two-holed round bead, is going to be a 5 millimeter. Going up from the round duo then, I kind of progressed again size-wise, and I could have changed a bunch of these out because the next beads are considered 6 millimeter. This next grouping of 5 beads all are going to be 6 millimeter. That being said, a lot of the designs that use them and encompass them and circle them that call for the 6 millimeter, these can be used entirely interchangeably. So looking here at these next 5 beads, there's the Honeycomb Bead, which after we came out with the round or the disc duo here, which is a 6 millimeter two-holed bead, then one of our competitors came out with the Honeycomb Bead. And the Honeycomb, this one happens to be the Honeycomb Jewel, which is a faceted look. And a lot of the Honeycomb designs could be very interchangeable with the disc duo. If you look at the side profile, if I hold this up here, you can see that it's a little bit, tiny bit thinner than the actual Honeycomb bead. The next bead in line, just to show that side profile, is the 6 millimeter two-holed cab. Then I have in the Jet AB the faceted round trio, and then the round trio bead. So laying these down here then, and get them all to lay correctly, we have the Honeycomb bead, just like the disc duo, is going to be the 2 holes. Then we have the two-holed cab bead out of the Czech Republic, which is 2 holes and 6 millimeter. Then there's the round trio, and the faceted round trio, also 6 millimeter. Because of its facets, the faceted round trio is going to look slightly smaller than the round trio bead. The reason actually that this larger version of the round duo was created with 3 holes is because we knew we wanted to manufacture that faceted shape. We wanted to get the faceted look, and the only way to do that was actually to create 3 holes rather than 2 holes in the bead, because it needed a center hole in order for the factory to be able to facet and put it on a faceting machine. It needed a hole to go through the center. A lot of times when I design and create, I actually skip the center hole and work with it just like the other 2-hole beads, working with the outer holes of the round trio and the round duo. Tons and tons of patterns that we have created or that call for these 6 millimeter two-holed shapes can interchangeably be used with all of these different beads really seamlessly. So keep that in mind when you're looking at any patterns that you see, maybe for the Honeycomb, the disc duo, any of those, you can really interchange those 5 beads very, very easily. Stepping up then to the next beads in line, I have more 2-hold cabs. So the 2-hold cab was originally a 6mm bead. A lot of the patterns that you will see for the 2-hold cab are actually the 6mm cab. The Checkmate brand then produced a 7mm 2-hold cab, and you can see the slight variance in size. There's then the Baroque Cab as well, which is also a 7mm bead. So patterns that you see for the 2-hold cab in the 7mm, you can use the Baroque Cab as well, which is just a designed cabochon look around that bead. It almost looks like craters or moon craters on the Baroque Cab. There's going to be many instances where you can use the 5 previous beads that I spoke about in change of the 7mm, both Baroque Cab and the regular Checkmate 2-hold cab. Again, looking at the profile as I pick it up from the side, the Baroque Cab and that 7mm cab have about the same profile that's going to stick up. And the same with the round trio bead. When you're looking at the 6mm cab and the faceted round trio, it has a little bit smaller of a profile than the actual bigger cabs are going to be. Again, many times you're seeing the tops of those 2-hold cabs in designs, and that's why it's not going to really matter what the actual profile is. It's going to matter more so the millimeter size from hole to hole. Many times that you'll be calling for a 7mm cab, stick a 15-0 seed bead on the side of any of these 5 beads that I spoke about earlier, and you will get that same measurement. For the round duo, if you stick an 11-0 on either side, you'll bump up to that same 7mm bead. Also for the round duo, if you stick a 15 seed bead on each side, you get the same side as the round trio. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit smaller in the profile because it is a 5mm versus a 6mm, but again, that spacing will be the same. As I go further up along the design then, I come to a bead that many of you might not even know exists, and this is the Octo Bead. The Octo Bead almost looks like a little crater as well, and this Octo Bead is an 8mm, much like the Candy Bead, which is an 8mm. Both of them have a rounded profile. The Octo Bead has that divot in the middle, whereas the Candy Bead has more of a pill shape, more of the disc duo shape. The disc duo and the Candy Bead have a similar profile, which is going to be a little bit less sharp than the actual 2-hold cab bead. The Candy Bead also will come in a 12mm, which is what I used here in this Birds of Paradise design, that sits with those 2 holes, so that's even going larger. I could have done the same exact pattern with some of the smaller beads as well, and it's actually the same pattern that I used the round trios for here that I could have substituted really any of these beads for. So sometimes it's just the shape and the profile that you're going for. Sometimes the millimeter really matters. Again, most of the time, if you're going up 2 millimeters, you can stick a 15-0 seed bead on either side of the bead, and that'll increase it by 2 millimeters. When I'm looking at the beads, the Octo does have 3 holes, and again, a lot of times I'll skip that center hole as we're designing and creating. The Candy Bead has that nice low profile that is going to mimic the disc duo and the Honeycomb Bead. Again, to throw a little variance in there, you can also pick up the Rose Monty, that even though it has that cross section of a back, you can work with it and kind of create looping around the same effect of that bezeling. That's the perfect idea, and the reason that we created the round duo is because I love this bezeling effect, but it does not work with a plain round bead, because the seed beads are going to pop to the top of the design. Hence the 2 hold beads in order to hold that bezel and that bezel down. If you haven't signed up for our email list, you can do so, and you actually get one of the patterns for free, the Bezeled Beauty. It's one of my favorite patterns, and it really, really utilizes and shows why the round duo is perfect with those 2 holes on the side in order to hold it down. All the other beads then came after the round duo in their kind of progression, and really utilizing again that 2 hold to hold beads off to the side. As I close out this episode of Better Beader, I just wanted to go over the fact that you can really start to, as you see last week's episode here that I'll bring back down with the rectangles, and this week's episode with the rounds, and we'll get another one going on with the squares too, that it really is a variety of beads that as you go up, they're quite similar. They may not look the same as you jump from one end to the other, but as you look at the side profiles, a lot of these beads are similar. Again, if you want it to increase by 1 millimeter, put a 15-0 on each side. If you want it to increase by 2 millimeters, put an 11-0 on each side. Change out, try them in different patterns and different designs, and you may be pleasantly surprised with the design ideas that you have and really the creativity that it spurs. That's the whole idea of these Better Beader episodes, is because again, like I said last week, we don't expect you to buy every bead. Try out the different beads, look at different patterns that you have, and experiment. It's not until you experiment and that you try things out on your own that you usually get the best results and the best data to kind of go off of as far as how things fit together, which things can be interchangeable, and what beads can be used in place of others. As always, if you like this Better Beader video, you can give me a little thumbs up. Let me know in the comments exactly what you like, more questions that you have, things that you'd like to see in future episodes of the Better Beader, and what you would like to know or what you enjoy about this channel. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. And when you subscribe to this YouTube channel, that will get you regular updates and emails to let you know when we have new design ideas, new Better Beader episodes for you, and all the information that we hope to get into your hands to make you a better beader. As always, you can purchase from me online at PotomacBeads.com. Put links below the video in the little description box for some of these different products that were featured in here as well. And if you would like to, you can also join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Become part of the community there. Interact with others that are awesome and that really enhance that Potomac Bead Company community that we have been so honored to help create. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next week, enjoy this information from this Better Beader episode.